they're always there. Action Force are there. Action Force will dare. Action Force. Now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you've tuned in this week for another, possibly the penultimate episode. I say possibly because you never know, of our Action Force extravaganza. Joe-Nie loves Action Force with special guest Michael Nye. Michael, welcome back to Joe on Joe, and Joe-Nie loves Action Force.
Absolutely.
You ready? Like, are you excited? Like, we're at the tail end, man. Like, this is we're nearing senior year here. What can I say? Senioritis. If you're a little British kid, maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it, but after this, you've only got like four issues left, so 1 month left of the weekly Action Force adventures. Yeah, and then you got to go out and find Transformers to find, little reprint stories that they continue beyond, but this is the last of the original content. So it's very exciting to
it's the issue, new year, 1988.
Totally. The issue numbers we're covering are
44, 45, and 46.
Yeah, it's a big Destro adventure. So if anyone's who's familiar with this, you're going to love this. It's a really great adventure today. 88, that's total. We are absolutely in sync with, as we record this in September or October, we're in sync with my weekly releases of the G.I. Joe magazine, which is also winter of 88. So it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe was in love with the magazine format.
Technically, this was December 27th, 1987, issue 44, but
exciting.
Then we're into 88. So
exciting, ringing in the new year with a Destro. I'll call it a Destro noir story. It's very much Raymond Chandler noir.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that.
I do, and it's all about his namesake. It's why is my name Destro?
Yeah, why am I? Am I Destro, destroyer of worlds? I don't know who I am.
But first, he gets an alternate name, which we'll learn.
Yeah,
he gets given the name of Silver.
Yeah, it's from and that's a reference, of course, to the time in the 1970s when he dated Batman as Silver St. Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
All
you listeners know that, of course. So new listeners, welcome aboard. If this is your first time listening to the show, this is it's a watch along and a read along podcast. So if you go back in the archives, you can watch along with all of the Sunbow and the DIC and the Extreme cartoons. Find the episode you want to watch, hit play, listen along. It's a lot of fun. Or you can do read-alongs. We've covered every issue of the G.I. Joe Real American Hero comic book from Marvel. Covered, like we said, a lot of the magazines, or actually all of the magazines by this point. The how to draws, all that stuff. All the Joe ephemera from the 80s that we love and the 90s that we love. So find your episode, find your issue, watch them, read along. And in this case, since we've been covering Action Force, I know a lot of you don't have these, so you can go to bloodforthebaron.com and they have PDF reprints of all this. This is actually where I'm reading along. Michael's got his own collection. And so you can find all the PDFs. You can read along. They're little 5-page adventures. They're great. They're a lot of fun. If this is your first time hearing our Action Force, like little mini specials, like mini. Yeah. This is more. I mean, this is like when it's
a limited series.
Yeah, limited. Like maxi. It's a maxi series. Remember that? Remember that when that was a thing? They'd be like, Marvel would have a thing on top. You'd be like, 4-issue The Falcon, 4-issue limited series, and then limited series or mini series, and then something big would come out and it would say 12-issue maxi series.
Yeah,
this is like a maxi series,
bringing it back.
And returning listeners, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. All of you can stop by and say hi on social media at Joe on Joe Pod. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, easy to find. You can drop us a line at joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of Action Force. Who's your favorite, American to British translation? Like, who do you think was served the best and who do you think was served the worst? I'll say Dusty.
Yeah.
I think Dusty got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. It wasn't very deserty.
That's true.
Yeah. And, if you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/JoeandJoePod and you can become a patron and help keep the show afloat. Speaking of that, our great sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast, they're out there. Give them a listen, give them a follow, and hear them talk movies. As we record this, just saw Joker 2, Folie à deux, whatever French of adieu,
The musical.
the musical. Have you seen anything good lately?
I'm wanting for a good
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
So I'm taking recommendations.
I enjoyed Joker. It's been a mental worm I haven't been able to get out of my head. I understand that people are, it's controversial because I think a lot of the edgelords realize that maybe it wasn't the story they thought it was.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. One, because friend of the show, Mac Brandt, plays the security guard next to Brian Gleason.
Okay.
For the most movie, big redhead guy, super nice guy, great actually great in the movie. He really brings some good stuff in. So shout out to Mac if you're listening. So we enjoyed it from that perspective, but also the musical part of it was great. Like it was, by the time you're hearing this might even be January.
Sure.
So by that time, it may have gotten every Razzie in the world. I don't care. The musical stuff was great because it just reflected his insanity.
Yeah.
It wasn't real world people walking, it was all in his head, which was a nice counterpoint to the first movie where we didn't know it was all in his head. So now if you're going to revisit that idea of being in his head and seeing the world through that lens, you might as well just lay it out on Front Street and do a musical. Like I loved it. It suffers, you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So you may get this. It suffers from, I think, it's really more of a Joker 1.5
Okay.
than a Joker 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't have its own engine. So that I thought was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
It is 100%. The whole movie is a reflection on the events of the Joker. And that's not as satisfying to me. But it was well made.
Yeah.
It was good. It's just the whole time I'm sitting there going, I had to really remember everything that went down in Joker.
Did you see Beetlejuice as well? Because I got the same report. This is like Beetlejuice 1.5.
I did see Beetlejuice, but I didn't feel that way.
Okay.
I didn't feel it. Maybe because Beetlejuice was more vibey
Yeah.
of a sequel. Really more traditional, like everything you liked before, remixed up. Where I felt Joker was really like plot point by plot point.
Got it.
It was a reflection on that.
Yeah.
And at this point, when you're hearing this, you may have already all seen it. But, literally the characters they bring back.
Sure.
In this movie, they make no sense unless you've seen this. Seen the other one. Versus, hey, it's a fun character from their past, and you introduce them and you go off and have a new adventure.
Yeah.
This is like the only reason Zazie Beetz there is because she gives more insight into the first movie. But if you haven't seen the first movie, you have no idea who she is.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of a thing. So really, that I thought was a little not it was a little lacking.
Yeah.
But well made.
Yeah.
Pulled off well.
Sure.
Musical stuff's great. Performances were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And as a piece, it works really well with the first movie.
Yeah. I think I've been watching a little bit more television of late because sometimes television reaches to the epic heights of cinema. And so Rings of Power is what I've been working through.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've dabbled in that at all, but the finale of season 2 was, it had some Battle of Helm's Deep vibes to it,
That's
which is
awesome.
which is epic. I'm not saying quite on that level because it's on your television and not on the big screen, but season 1 was a little bit of a walk in the park that didn't really grab me, but season 2 definitely did more work in the world of Tolkien and was more interesting characters and better acting. And
I heard there was a big reveal of someone who someone was, and I don't know what it was, so don't tell me.
Yeah, there's definitely
Were you
that.
satisfied with it?
Yeah.
All I've seen at this point are the headlines that said mysterious blah blah blah.
Sure.
Whatever makes fans upset or make fans happy or whatever.
Yeah, it comes early, and
Oh,
then
does it?
and then they you get to sit with that character for a good amount of the season. So I mean, if you have any interest in the world,
Is it Strider?
No,
Probably not.
We're
'cause
not.
It's like hundreds of years before.
There are a number of callbacks where you're like, this looks like it belongs in a Peter Jackson film, where they're obviously homaging some things, but anyway, they spent a bunch of money, they put some things together. It's a cool world building, series.
Cool. I do mean to check it out. Oh, Mary Jane's having a scratch moment. I do want to check it out. So good. So listeners, I know Movies in a Meal covered Rings of Power. And I'm sure they're covering Joker Folie à Deux. So Folie à Deux. I don't speak French.
Le
deux. Either way, give them a listen. They're awesome. So, all right, movie talk aside.
Sure.
Let's get in some deep Action Force conversation.
Absolutely.
What's the cover for 44?
So this is Destro, arms out. He can't believe what is happening because he has no idea what is happening, including who he is. The title is Destro has just one question. Who am I?
I am Javert.
And we haven't been talking about Combat Colin, the little strip.
Yeah.
But this is his one appearance in the upper
I
left.
gotta tell you, he looks a little Peter Griffin-y.
He's like,
You see what I'm saying there? Mm-hmm. That looks like Peter Griffin if Peter Griffin were cosplaying for a comedic bit.
But I love that he's trying to join, the Scottish ranks of Destro's army by
I can see him in a kilt.
By donning a bagpipe.
Yeah. His outfit's great.
Yeah.
Because it's ragged, it's all tore up. It's funny. It kind of like I don't know what his redheaded collar. Yeah, his red
sure.
collar thing.
Yeah. Not a cowl, a collar cowl, something.
Like what is that?
It's Hugh Hefner to the max.
Right. Like what has that ever been? Has that been just like was it like a scarf? You know what I mean? Like
gives me bathrobe vibes.
It does give bathrobe vibes.
Big
I
cushy.
don't know what it's made of.
Sure.
But in this, it's all torn up, which is interesting.
Sure.
Like if you look at like superhero capes, I loved when Kevin McGuire did it a lot in the Justice League when he would really get into the cape design of it, where Martian Manhunter had a very specific fold on his cape.
Yep.
And then Captain Marvel, Shazam, had a very specific up. I'm talking about the piece that juts up over the head, like over it's straight up. Mm-hmm. It was all very specifically designed, and I've always wanted someone to address that with Destro.
Yeah.
Like what are we really looking at here?
Sure.
Because they didn't really touch that in the live action.
Anyone who's ever cosplayed as Destro had to make a decision as to what they were going to build it out of.
I think the consensus is just to do a roll bar.
Yeah. But
I can't imagine if they were to try to approach that in a movie, they would do a roll bar.
It's not just filled with blood or something?
I don't know. I want answers. But in this, what we're seeing here is it's all torn up. It does seem to be the interior lining of his jacket, of his shirt, I guess, shirt jacket or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's, I don't know.
Amulet front and center. You can see his eyes. You know?
Although the amulet, interesting, in the story.
It's not red.
Right.
Here on the cover, it's not red.
It's not. Yeah. And someone talks about stealing it off him. So I see this and it looks like someone jacked his amulet.
Yep. Yeah. Like an Infinity Stone is missing.
Yes.
Totally. The original Infinity Stone.
His face is pretty expressive. And does Brian Hitch do the cover?
Yes. So Hitch. Right. So and one of the few instances. So Hitch actually signs all of his covers. So he drew all of these. Yeah.
So his face is really expressive. Remember what we were talking about when Hitch did the interiors? Mm-hmm. They were covering his face.
Yeah.
Because I will say this: that's not a very metallic face.
Right.
And so I think that's Hitch at the time not being able to do a real metallic looking face. Mm-hmm. He inks on the interiors.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of that heavy shadow again, but for the most part, because Mike Collins.
Yeah, Mike Collins wrote and drew these, and then Hitch did.
And they look great, and the inks are great too. But when it comes to Destro's face, they obscure it a lot, as much as they can.
But not here.
No, not here, and it doesn't look metal.
Yeah,
but it looks great.
Sure.
Yeah, but it definitely does not. But it's great though. It's a great cover.
I mean, you rarely see Destro in such a vulnerable expression.
Not. Absolutely not. Yeah, the expression is very vulnerable. And he looks young. He looks very young in that picture.
And don't forget, because we are about giving away things in the issues of Action Force. So across the top of the banner, Action Force computer games to be won.
Awesome.
It's like what? Yeah,
Well,
what haven't we given away?
Yeah, I know. Let's flip to that. Can we see what the computer game was? Because there were a couple games at the time. There was the Atari 2600. And this is the 87. So
they tease it here, and they say, a cure for the post-Christmas blues. Has your Christmas tree tinsel lost some of its luster? Are you still stuffed with so much Christmas log that you have to be surgically implanted into your combat fatigues? Are you still tripping over the mound of moldering wrapping paper outside the front door? Seems that you're suffering from the post-Christmas stress syndrome. And there's only one cure for that. Get back into the swing of things with Action Force. And what a way to start the new year. Santa may have hung up his toy sack till next December, but we at Marvel are dishing out the pressies like it was still Christmas Day. Next week, you button jocks will have a chance to win one of 50, yes, 50 Action Force computer games from Virgin Games. So they're teasing it in next week's issue.
Got it.
So we'll have to.
So we'll see what the game is next week.
Absolutely.
It's a Virgin game. So this would have been the early, like mid-life cycle of NES. So but I think the NES games were 1990 and 91. Just off the top of my head, I may be a little wrong there, but I feel like the 1990 sounds right.
Yep.
So did they say PC game? Did they say, because I think it's PC?
It just says computer games.
Like Amiga.
But,
yeah. Because there was that Amiga game we've covered on this show. And then of course there was the old Commodore game.
Yeah.
And then the 2600 game, but it doesn't sound like it's the 2600 version.
They also teased an upcoming contest to win one of 12 Cobra hydrofoils. That's a cool giveaway.
That's a great giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's a really great giveaway.
Hasbro's still supplying the toys.
I'll tell you what.
It's good.
Sweet. Well, let's jump into it, man. Destro Down and Out.
Part one.
Part one. So this is where I go noir-ish on this because, you wake up in an alley. You got the crap beaten out of you. You don't know who you are. You don't know where city you're in. That's such the start of a mystery.
You got a rat as your friend.
Oh, your only friend is a rat. Your only friend. That's so very much like. Oh, and it's the monologue.
Yeah.
The whole story, all of it, all three issues are told in this monologue. It's
Which
I don't know where I was. But,
Hama never did that.
No.
Never had thought bubbles. Never did monologues.
Nope.
For the most part.
I wake up in an alley and I taste blood, mine. Like my body screams from savage bruises. I should be dead,
but I'm alive.
Yeah, like that's so. I don't know who I am, and I don't know why I got beaten up, but I need to figure it out. I love it. So he's in an alley. He doesn't exactly know where he is. He doesn't even know why he has a metal mask on. And as he exits the alley, these are where the two dudes are talking about lightening his jewelry load.
Yep.
But I like this though, that he understands the language, but he doesn't know. Like he knows that it's not his own, but he doesn't know what his own language is.
Yeah.
He just knows that he speaks 12 languages and he can understand these dudes are about to jack him up.
Sure.
And frankly, they do. They get some good kicks in.
I love how they always hit the metal mask.
Always. It's the last thing I would be punching. The last thing.
You could hit him in the not even the Adam's apple. I guess that's under metal too. But
Yeah. They do get his jewelry. His jewelry is gone after this. They said, we have all he has. Let's go. What about his faceplate? They don't get the faceplate.
He gets a first flashback of being kicked in the head, which isn't in real time.
Right.
So as he's getting hit, he's,
And a nice artistic move that the flashbacks are colored differently, like blood red. So it's like this blood, painful flashback memory that he's having.
With this bold blue border.
Yep.
So they really stand out.
Yeah. So he has enough strength in him to deck the dude who's trying to touch his face. But then a woman in a hooded robe comes and offers her hand and assistance. She says, come, you need help. And he's too weak to object.
Jenna is her name.
Jenna.
And brings Destro back to see. By the way, this panel on the third page of Jenna is... it's supposed to be distorted.
The second panel?
Second panel, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That is one distorted,
Yeah, listeners.
funhouse mirror
yeah,
image.
Think like if you're in the third grade and you're asked to draw your sister.
Yeah.
Like what her face looks like. The nose is weird. The eyes are like, it is absolutely like a third grade drawing, which is, I'm going to say this, a talent.
Sure.
Because to do that well and make it believable takes talent.
Sure.
It takes you understanding what you're wanting to achieve and doing it versus just saying, hey, draw something that looks silly.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. And then the next page is snaps too, and he's still in his mask. He's shirtless. He's all wrapped up with the broken rib bandages across his body.
We meet Hajid, who is her grandfather, I believe.
Does he know he's in Morocco yet?
Yeah, he.
Did we figure that out on the previous page?
Oh, you know.
I don't know if he knows what city he's in, but he is in Morocco.
Yeah. He says, I am in Morocco, but how did I get here?
Got it.
So on the first page.
Yeah. So this is where we learn that that's the problem he's having. I know that I speak your language. I'm fluent in a dozen tongues, but I don't know which one is mine, where my name is, etc. And he has another blood red flashback. And this time, instead of a boot, it's fists hitting his face.
Again.
Again. And there's a guy with a club behind him then. And there's actually 3 people involved here because there's a fist, there's a dude with 2 hands on a club, and then there's a guy behind him. So we know that it was a gang of dudes that beat him up. Mm-hmm. Ajib says, you can stay until you recover, but what should we call you? And what does Jenna say? Thirsty Jenna, by the way, very thirsty for Destro.
Silver.
She sees Destro as her ticket out of here.
That's right.
She's like, this hunk of a man with this Scottish accent. Stop it.
Not messing around.
No, she's not messing around. He puts his clothes back on, even all they're all jagged and they're all ripped up. He puts the jagged, ripped up clothes back on. He doesn't put on like fresh clothes or anything.
Right.
He says he's fine. His body is like a machine. If you look after it well, it will always give peak performance. That's so Destro.
You sound like an engineer, she
right?
says. Compliments are flowing.
Yeah. Does this mask mark your identity, Silver? Are you some great hero? This is also, actually, this is very much like a terrible movie, Black Adam.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you a hero? I'm no hero.
Nothing against The Rock.
Nothing against The Rock.
Terrible movie.
No. movie was rough. But The Rock was great in that. He didn't know if he was a hero or, like he really had to get his memory back. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Figure all that out. So he does a thing here where he pulls his face off. And by her reaction, Michael, what do you think she sees?
To me, the reaction says, oh my goodness, I'm sorry you are so terribly scarred.
Right.
Like you would imagine Snake Eyes' face to be.
Correct.
But his silhouette is that of a very handsome man, a la Dashiell Fairborn, Flint, or someone the like, with a full head of hair.
I'm going to say this. He's Scottish.
Yeah.
What if he takes his face mask off and he's Tom Jones, the singer?
There you go.
She's like, oh my God, you're Tom Jones. Or is he? No, I'm sorry. He's Welsh. He's not Scottish. I'm sorry. I take that all back. But still, what about he's just a famous person. He's Scotty from Star Trek.
Yeah.
You're James Doohan.
Amazing. So,
so it's confusing though.
She's tearing up a little bit almost. Maybe it's she is covering her mouth.
She's horrified.
Yeah.
But as we'll see, listeners, we do get a recap of his origin, and whatever. None of it has to do with damaging his face. Did we see his face get damaged in a previous issue here?
No. So he's had his mask on the whole time.
Right. So it's a weird reaction to then give us his origin later, jumping ahead a little bit.
Yes.
But not have that origin have anything to do with screwing his face up.
Yeah, it completely stands out. It doesn't relate to anything else in the story here.
Yeah.
And it makes it obvious that it's not like Cobra Commander's mask that could blow up in your face if you touch it. Clearly, because she takes his mask off, is what I see. She's reaching for it, and then
no, he takes it off.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. Well, you don't see his hands, but I don't think she takes it off.
That's true.
I don't think she takes it off. I think he takes it off.
Yeah.
Because she asks, "Let me see your face."
He's willing to do it for her.
Yeah, and he does because he doesn't know better. Because he's still.
I don't know what it says.
He is, but
I think because she keeps saying you look like a hero. So he puts the mask back on, and then she says it makes you look heroic. So maybe it's just she wants to have.
So let's go panel by panel. So she says you are, and he says nothing. Without this, I am nothing. She says, but what are you with it? And
one who survives.
Well, is he saying that or is she saying that? I think he's saying that.
He's saying
because he's having a flashback to getting beaten again.
Yeah.
And she says, the mask, makes you look heroic. You are some great hero of the Northwest, which is funny. You got a place where you're at here.
Yeah.
Northwest. He's not a logger in Seattle.
Sure.
That's, British, Scottish area. of the Northwest, struck low by villains and left to die, I feel sure. So it's the mask that for her gives the end. It's the mask that does it for her, which again implies that his face is not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really good.
It's like Scarlet saying to Snake Eyes, maybe put that back on.
Yeah. Hey, come on, Snake Eyes. We're in polite society here. Or actually, in reference to, you haven't seen it yet, but it's really no spoiler at this point by the time you're hearing this. In Joker,
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's only interested in him because he's the Joker,
Mm-hmm.
not because he's Arthur Fleck.
Sure.
And so that's it. Like, similar here. Like, she's got a weird little put the hero back on because I need a hero in this. They don't seem to be people of means.
Yes.
Right? They seem to be in a little bit of spot of trouble.
Some kind of mask infatuation, certainly.
Yeah. If Jenna wanted some Herculean hero tragically struck down, then such I would be. Which I like that move. He's like, hey, you want me to be the hero?
Should fate allow it.
I got time to kill. Yeah. So while they're about to do a metal-plated lip lock, Hajid comes running in, and he's messed up.
It's a little unclear to me. I mean, he's sort of like he could be walking in quickly,
Well,
sort
his
of
head's
falling.
right. Do you see in your version? Do you see the head? The
Yeah.
head's got blood on it. His wrapping.
Yeah,
Turban.
it's not the blood red of Destro's, robe here.
No, but it's
but
the
yeah.
it's the washed out red of blood.
Yep.
Getting soaked up by his white turban. Yeah. And he says he's got jumped by some dudes who wear the mark of the serpent. And then that's when you get to the next page, and Destro has another flashback, and now he can fully remember who jumped him, and it's Cobra troopers, with Cobra sigils and all that stuff. And then Hajid dies, so he got jumped presumably for helping Destro, because we cut immediately to outside, and it's the same troopers in the sigil. Now, I assume these are the exact guys who beat up Destro. They probably thought they did the job, and now they're back to clean it up.
Yeah, or from the same group.
Yeah, and they're muscling in on all these other vendors, asking, where is he, the man in the mask? He's been seen around here. We've killed before, and I can assure you we will kill again. Where is he?
It's funny how the second Cobra Troopers just, I'm going to kick over this basket.
Yeah, take that, basket.
my buddy's doing all the work here, so I'm just going to mess some things up.
And in the distance, you see Destro actually stalking up to them.
Yeah.
And they color him in just a red, because he's part of the background, you can't really color him accurately. Mm-hmm. And they choose this, like, anger red.
Oh, yeah.
Which obviously has some red on him, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, like, menacing.
Yeah.
And he steps up and he's like, here. And he just starts going at these dudes. Fists flying, elbows flying, and yet he takes a rifle butt on the back of the skull. Ends up with a trooper with the AK-47 right at his. That's the cliffhanger for this issue. He's got a pistol or a rifle pointed right at his skull.
And then he is downcast.
So that's the end of that issue. So we're going to move on to the next
Hitch cover.
Weekly Hitch cover. That's a great cover.
45,
It's
yeah.
a really great cover.
No banner on this one for any competitions. This is simply Destro down, but not out.
Yeah, but this is the one where they're going to tell you more about what the competition was, right?
Yes.
So it's crazy. The last one they had the banner.
I know.
But said come back next week. And this
Yeah.
week they're like, yeah, if you weren't here last week, you missed it.
Things are getting a little crazy. We are nearing the end,
Yeah, we
so
are.
things are a little chaotic.
It's a really great
in the
cover, though.
office.
So Destro's all, he's legs akimbo, gun smoking. That soldier against the wall is been shot through. He's also been slammed up against the wall to break the masonry.
Yeah.
That dude's been brutalized, which I appreciate. You just got dead cobras everywhere, and I love it.
Slight continuity error. His amulet is back on his chest, but maybe it was his backup.
Oh, maybe he stole it. It's not in the story, though. He does not have it in the story.
Right.
But it is on the cover. You're right.
Total opposite expression to what we just saw on 44.
Yeah.
This is, he's, a little smirk,
It's good.
smug.
It's a good cover.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So let's see. Do they say what the computer game exactly is?
Oh, yeah. So if we delve into, they give us the story first, but we'll blow past that just
what
for
a
a
story
second.
it is.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic computer game. So Cobra has launched a surprise attack on the island of Batsneda. In the panic of the evacuation, classified information has been left behind in the eastern sector. Cobra's grip tightens, and an immediate raid must be undertaken to retrieve the vital data. This is a job for Action Force. So it goes on to say it's for the Commodore 64.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good game.
And the game is simply Action Force International Heroes.
Oh, so they rebranded it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They did rebrand it because it's probably the same Commodore game. They just localized it.
Yeah.
So it's video games. That's
So-
what it's called, localizing.
Yeah, it says we have great news for anyone with a computer that can accommodate a Commodore 64/128 cassette, Spectrum 48/128 cassette, or a Spectrum Plus 3 disc. Virgin Games, together with Marvel Comics, are giving away 50 copies of their brilliant Action Force computer game, plus a fantastic poster in this great, easy-to-enter competition. So there's 3 questions you need to answer.
Yep.
I think maybe you can pull these off, Joe. So just real quick.
Okay.
This elite cadre of Cobra Troopers are responsible for battlefield communications, electronic warfare, and covert intelligence gathering.
Televipers?
That's it.
Yeah.
And number 2, what do the initials ECM stand for?
ECM. Electrocharged mother. Mother.
I'll accept it instead of electronic countermeasures.
Electronic countermeasure. Yes. No.
Electric countermeasures.
Yeah, no, you're right. I missed that one.
Close enough. And then 3, name Action Force's communications specialist.
Well, be Breaker, but not for Action Force. So,
Yeah.
were we at Mainframe yet?
It's tough because we haven't seen him in these
Is
issues.
it Mainframe? Do they say it's Mainframe? Or do they say Psych Out?
The
No,
answer
not
isn't
Psycho.
given here, but I would say they probably went with Dial Tone would be my guess.
Oh, Dial Tone. Yeah.
Given the
That makes
vintage.
more sense. Yeah. That makes more sense.
So
Well,
anyway,
you know what? Looks like I wouldn't have won, but I tell you what, though, while you were doing that, I did Google Action Force Commodore video game,
yeah.
and there's absolutely playthrough videos on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, it's totally Action Force branded G.I. Joe action. It's looks really great.
That's fun.
Yeah,
That's totally
yeah.
fun.
So you're flying around in dragonflies, shooting Cobra jets and Cobra trouble bubbles. I think they are.
Yeah, and the poster would have been that image, which is
No, fangs. You're shooting fangs out of the sky. Yeah.
it's cool.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, man.
Also, they did bring back the mail call page in this, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the one question this reader wrote in 5 questions, but the last one is, what does Airtight look like without his mask on?
Uh-oh.
The answer, you wouldn't want to know.
What's up? Just because people wear masks doesn't mean that they're horrified. You know who wrote that reply? Jenna.
That's right. That's right. She's like, I've already seen this Destro character. This Airtight guy, man, he must be really twisted.
He must have been exposed to like mustard gas that melted his face off.
Given his specialty, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, maybe he was.
This is
listen.
before we knew cesspool was part of the,
Yeah,
canon.
yeah. That's funny. Yeah, the cesspool, the one guy who should have a mask on, doesn't.
He did come with a helmet, but they never showed it in the comic book. But the
Did
action figure had a helmet.
Did it cover? And it covered his face.
I covered his. Yeah.
Oh,
it was a
so
whole-
I've never had such
total.
one.
I had the Action Force
okay.
figure as a kid, and but it was so annoying because he had like a mouthpiece, like a plug that went right over his mouth, and that was a removable. It was a 2-piece.
weird.
He had the helmet, and then this little, and that piece was lost instantly.
Yeah.
So he had a little hole in the front of his helmet, so he looked ridiculous.
Oh, that's funny.
Quickly, the helmet came off
Oh, that's funny.
because the face was way cooler. But anyway,
I love it. I love it. Well,
you can only guess what Airtight's face looked like.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought he was just a handsome man. Green Bay Packer fan, really.
There you go. Too funny.
So Destro down and out. It picks up immediately after the last one. So the guy's the trooper's about to shoot Destro, but he's clocked overhead. It's very Marion Ravenwood vibes here with a pottery thing by this lady, by Jenna.
Yep. She's a little bit of a cousin to Lady J, maybe.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
the colors in the hair.
Sure,
and-
yeah. Clocks him with some pottery. Dudes in the back are like, that's my livelihood you just broke. Like, I don't care if that dude gets shot in the head. You got to break my pottery. I worked hard on that. And she grabs Destro, and they make their getaway. Here's why I love this part.
Yeah.
And this is so very much like it's how you tell these stories. I think they did. I'm pretty sure they did it in like John Wick. It's the arc of the guy doesn't know where he is, or he's down and out, he's beaten up. He gets brought back to life or healed by someone, man, woman, whatever it is. But then he immediately is like, I got to go back out. But he shows that he can't really do it. Mm-hmm. And he fails. And that's what they're doing. Whether they, were purposely arcing this out or not, or just needed to fill time or whatever. They're doing that with Destro here. Like, he's like, I can do it. I'm a machine. He's from last year. I'm a machine. A machine treats well. And he can't. He's not ready. Did Rocky have this arc in any of his movies? I guess Clubber Lang beat him, but he hadn't already been beaten by them. But you know what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is it. This is Destro going, no, I'm good. I'll suck it up, and I'll still. Oh, nope, no, you won't. You still need help.
Yeah.
And you have to go back. You have to recoup. And recoup he does, by the way, in this issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's time for cheating on Baroness time. The best excuse. I had no idea who I even was, Miss Baroness. Oh, and if you're upset with the girl for being with me, she's dead. Spoiler. So the Baroness can't be upset about any of this.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
They retreat. They bury her grandfather. I like this part. They say the appropriate prayers. And that's cool because they're not nailing down exactly what religion. That part of the world has a lot of differing, there's a lot of obviously religious turmoil of late, but, there's just a lot. There's a lot going on over there.
Yeah.
Could be this, could be that. I like that they address it, but they don't nail it down. Mm-hmm. Smart way to do it. We learned that Hajid was her last surviving relative, which, again, that part of the world, I'm assuming from war and strife, like everyone's been murdered from things like this, like Cobra running through the street, beating the crap out of people. The only person in her world is Silver.
That's right.
He says, it's too dangerous for you to be with me. Tomorrow I must leave. And take me with you. He doesn't even know where he's going, though, Michael. Mm-hmm. And as she says, like, you don't even remember your father, that's when we get an extended flashback to Destro's father, the kingpin of crime.
No question. No question.
His father was Wilson Fisk.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. Throw that gold mask, that silver mask on him, and
yeah, it's a heavy set Destro is what it is, and it ends up looking very, very kingpin of crimey. They hadn't really gotten into Grand Grenadiers yet, right? I think that was another year away.
Right.
That would have been great though if he had the gold mask, because it's colored yellow here, but it's the silver mask.
Sure.
But if it was actually the Iron Grenadiers mask that he was confronting him with, you know. Yeah. So as she says that, he starts to have flashbacks to that, and then he kind of lies to her. Says, "No, I don't even remember him." His face looks more like Michael Myers than it does Destro. It looks like a Michael Myers mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Halloween. And he says, come if you will then, but I can promise you no peace from the Serpent Men. And she'll be with him. That will bring her peace enough. She is in love with this dude.
I mean, the look on her face, she is just like, yeah.
And I'll tell you,
putty in his hand.
Between the panels, now it's literally pages, because that's the end of one page, and then you go to the next page. Between those panels, they also were between the sheets.
Definitely.
The next scene you get, it's Destro laying in bed. Now he's alone. He's in a just a regular sized twin bed, but you don't show Destro waking up in bed. You don't show that unless that's what you're implying.
Sure.
He's not recuperating. He's not sick. He's recovering from a night of
activity
and frivolity.
That's right.
Yeah. He says, her bravery impresses me. Her affection warms me. The word warm, that's the key. That's the clue. I sense it as something new, something I have not felt before, which is crazy because he's got Baroness.
Well, that's in the G.I. Joe universe.
Are they not together in this one?
We haven't seen it.
Oh, I guess we haven't.
We haven't seen a lot of
Interesting.
examples of it. So
You know how I read this? I read it as, yeah, he's with the Baroness, but she doesn't give him warmth. She doesn't actually care for him. She doesn't. Let me say this: she doesn't believe in him because Jenna. And it's silly. She doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know anything about him. She's looking for a way out. Let's be real. I don't mean that. Don't mean that in a negative way towards her.
Sure.
She's in a position of like, oh my gosh, you could be my way out.
But she's ready to be a disciple.
She's totally ready to be a disciple, but she also cares for him in that regard.
Yeah.
Like what do they call the Florence Nightingale syndrome, right? So she's giving him warmth and emotion and affection that he has never gotten from the Baroness, which I can't see the Baroness giving him that kind of actual emotional warmth.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But the morning will bring further adversity. It's important that I am prepared for it now. That I'm sorry. He hasn't. This isn't the morning yet. He's just now resting after some frivolity. And this is where we get his origin in his dreams. It's all shaded red, like the flashbacks were. And this time, instead of the blue line, it's like a jagged panel. The panels are all jagged, like sticks. put
Yeah,
together.
twigs. Yeah,
twigs.
Yeah. And this is where it gets real dark, real quick.
Oh man, it's like he's yelling at him for not wearing a suit to a Yankees game. His dad is like, "You think I don't know what you've been doing? You've been dealing, you've been dealing arms with scum. Our family name doesn't mean anything to you." And Destro's like, "You're growing old, father. Your reluctance to move on with the times is holding this family back. How dare you speak to me in this way? I wear the silver mask." And Michael, what do we get?
Yes, but you are no longer worthy of it. As he shoots him point blank in the chest, smart enough to not aim at the head this time.
Right.
And takes him straight to the ground with one shot. He says, "You grew soft, father. You became a danger to both yourself and to me. Our organization needs a man of steel behind the silver mask." Hopefully DC doesn't come up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, lawsuit happening.
Yeah.
It needs me. And he puts on his dead dad's mask. He killed his father.
Still warm.
Still warm. It's like let's get real. Still sweaty.
Yeah.
That mask is sweaty and gross.
Yep.
And he's like, maybe that's why his face got ruined. His face is still in shadow. Now I get it because you don't want to show who he actually looks like. That's the gag there. But we then never get an answer of is he horribly disfigured before this. But this is where it should have. We should have gotten the disfigured answer here.
Yes.
You don't have to show it. I get that, but based on her reaction, we should have had a reason why she had that reaction here.
Now, he appears to have lost... Oh, no. He's got the back of the mask. I was going to say he looks bald from behind, but no, he's just putting the front piece on.
He's connecting the front piece, yeah.
Now,
it's a great sequence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it. But it's also, I do believe it's thematically and tonally different from the Destro that we know and love from G.I. Joe. Yeah. I don't think our G.I. Joe... Well, one, I don't think he actually did kill his dad.
There was no patricide.
Right, but I don't think he would kill his dad.
Right.
Because he's so... Honorable, enamored with his family, And yes, he did branch them out. I think that's part of his lore is that he saw that there were both sides to be played with and, and said, I'm going to do that. But he absolutely honored his past so much so in the new Skybound universe, he keeps that crypt.
Yeah.
Are you reading?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's got that family crypt of all the dead people. Yep. That Destro would not have killed his dad.
Absolutely.
I don't believe so.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And but when he wakes up, he says, "Jenna." Now, is it because of the screaming or the ooh that we see, or is it because he just put the warm mask on in his dream and he remembers?
I think it's because of screaming.
Of course.
But I do like that though. I do like that. The feeling of warmth and patricide makes him think of his new love.
Dark.
So she is screaming, and in the other room, there's a Cobra Trooper with a pistol to her head, looking for Destro. So they found it there. They found her house, not knowing that he was actually in there, in the other room.
Yeah.
It's the last of the Serpent Men. Should have killed him too, but you didn't have the opportunity to because you were almost got Destro.
Yeah.
So now he's kind of He says the thought comes naturally to him of killing the guy as naturally as his actions. So it's like that dream has rejogged his memory. So he now knows exactly who he is. But I'll say this, his newfound weakness is what gets her killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Destro was old school Destro and just mercilessly beat this dude to death, which Destro would have done.
Sure.
He wouldn't have paused to check if Jenna was all right. And it's in the pause that checking on Jenna is when the trooper regroups himself and is able, and it's
Comes
actually
at him,
Yeah. And it's the trooper the trooper's shooting. It's weird. It looks a little bit like the guns in Destro's hand, but it's in the trooper's hand. But in that scuffle that a random bullet flies and gets Jenna right through the midsection.
Yeah.
So were he not weakened by love, Jenna would actually still be alive.
It's true.
That's the lesson here.
She'd be in love with, a murderer.
Silver, sure. Well, not murderer. No, that's all self-defense. Come on. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. That's like total self-defense. Totally. That's complete self-defense.
It's true.
But what happens next is total murder. Again, like we discussed last time. So he casts the soldier aside to check on Jenna. She says, "It's not your fault. You were protecting me. You're a hero." And he says that she's another casualty, another victim, another death. And this dude is not smart. He should not be taunting Destro right now.
Definitely not. And while Destro is understanding what kind of man he is here, he still actually doesn't know his name because he's still referring to these Cobra Troopers as Serpent Men.
Correct.
And she's still calling him Silver. And here you have it. You have where the trooper says, "How touching, how pitiful, how unlike you, Destro." And Destro, of course, says, "Destro? Yes." He's remembering his name.
And that's a really nice image here of the gun providing the illumination, the source of light for this image. So you get shadows cast across his face in a he's shooting with his left hand, so
lit from below.
Yeah, lit from below, but also below and to the left.
Yeah.
So if you look, like there's a heavier shadow on the right side than there is on the left and going up. So it's it's great. It's a really nice drawing. And now he remembers his name is Destro. And again, they don't trust Brian Hitch to draw his full face.
Well, the gun, the light source is gone.
That's true.
So
Good
now
point.
he's fallen into complete darkness. I mean, this is an intentional choice.
You're absolutely right. I take it all back. And now he remembers who did this to me. He's a dead man, Farouk, who we've met before.
That's right. Throwing it back. Many issues.
Yeah, many issues. I don't remember what the adventure was, but we were back in Morocco and we did meet Farouk.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was a double dealer, if I recall.
He was.
Yeah.
And look out, because Destro's coming.
So now we get to the final issue with a great cover.
Unrelated to the Destro story,
Nope.
However,
it's awesome. Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes in the rain on the beach, fire behind them. Storm Shadow's got his arrow notched. Snake Eyes is crouched and ready to go with his Uzi in hand. They're reprinting the story of them attacking Cobra Island to get Zartan and Ripcord landing on Cobra Island to rescue Bongo the Balloon Bear, Candy. And this is, I don't know if this actual issue is, but it would have been the time of the great Mike Zeck cover of those two in the doorway.
Yeah.
With the smoking weapons and them side by side. So this is like the British reaction to that cover, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Brian Hitch, great. I'm here for it.
Yeah, so this is in reference to the 7 pages of Who's Who on Cobra Island. Yeah, that was reprinted.
Yeah.
But back to Destro can't leave us behind.
No, he can't leave us
in the
behind.
upper left.
Can't leave us behind. And he finds his way to Club Morocco in Casablanca. It's a favorite with a U drinking spot for tourists, happy to pay well for cheap local color. Color, again, with a U.
It's got some old Snake vibes going on.
Old Snake vibes.
Anyone reading the Cobra Commander Energon series?
Totally old Snake vibes.
Trench
going
coat,
on. Yep.
Dora.
Yep. Was once. And, the maitre d' tries to stop him from entering like the back room. And this is great. He opens up a bag that he's carrying Destro's helmet in. He's disguised himself as the trooper.
Yeah.
And it's like he's carrying the trophy of I've got Destro's head, so you need to let me in, which is pretty awesome.
And if you've never seen a Cobra Trooper with their helmet on, then wearing a fedora on top of that, you're in for a treat here.
It was funny. The fedora isn't even drawn to match the size of the helmet. Look at that panel.
Oh, yeah.
The helmet is like, let's say 2 inches on each side of his head.
Yeah.
The fedora is snugly fitting on top of the head. That makes his helmet like some kind
Notched.
of weird crown. Yeah, that's
yeah.
weird, man. That's really
trip.
weird. That ain't great.
I mean, if you look at that,
Luckily cropped by balloons.
the band on the outside of the fedora looks like it might go on the outside of a Cobra helmet,
Yeah.
maybe, but
That fedora would have to be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do this without the helmet underneath it, is what I'm saying. You could just do the Cobra, the red bandana.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's fun though. It's fun. I'm allowing it. It's totally fun.
Mike Collins, writing and drawing on
Yeah.
all of these issues.
Yeah.
Maybe he's running a little behind on that panel.
And the dead, lifeless Destro mask is great.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. That really looks like I ripped this off a dead man. That's really nice.
Clearly no eyes in it.
Yeah. So now we see that underneath, behind, below this this Club Morocco is a straight up Cobra training facility.
Yeah. You get a
Cobra banners everywhere.
random Cobra tank we've never seen.
Yep.
Looks like a Mobat.
Destro's coming down on an elevator. You see, it's like the pit. It's like the Cobra version of the pit, really.
Yeah.
Cobra's training and stuff like that. So,
Or the Batcave.
yep, or the Batcave.
Yeah.
It really works. Now, there's a 7 behind that thing. Are we to say that there's 7 levels to this training center? Could that be what it means?
That appears to be so.
Yeah. So Destro walks up to a door where, we're assuming Farouk is behind. He says, there's some troopers. He says, I've brought the master the prize he desires. They inquire about the other 2. He says Destro killed them. And they're, you must be a great man to have survived. Speak the password and you may enter. Destro has not planned for this. He says, let me see. How about death? And he proceeds to kill those 3 dudes. Barehanded? Does he shoot? Yeah, barehanded. He does not shoot them.
Yeah.
You get k, whack, and kaduck. He breaks their necks manually. That's really great.
The only thing strange here is he has an ungloved hand then all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's gloved again. just to hit the
Yeah.
keypad. I don't know if it was
That's just a coloring error.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a coloring error. But I like it, though, in the sense that it well,
although you can see his fingernails. I don't know. It is weird.
well, so he has, okay, well, so they got to make up their mind. And this is just a coloring error. They got to make up their mind because he's got silver gloves.
Or blue gloves.
Well,
Black.
he has blue gloves on the interiors. On the cover, he has silver gloves. That first cover.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he has silver gloves on that
gloves.
first cover. The interiors, they've given him blue gloves the whole time. So now he's wearing blue gloves as he's undercover. And then if you go, oh, he's totally getting out of his Cobra uniform. Now we see his real flesh hand.
Yeah.
Okay. But then the next is he's back to wearing blue gloves. So if they were giving him silver gloves the whole time, then you go flesh and then you go to silver like he's mid transformation. That's fun.
Yeah.
But it's just coloring errors. It's But the image of him grabbing his lifeless mask is pretty great.
Yeah.
That's really slasher movie vibes.
Yeah.
That's the Jason reaching for his hockey mask. Chainsaw Massacre, what's his face, grabbing his leather face, grabbing his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really good. Halloween, obviously, Michael Myers putting his mask back on after it gets knocked off. That's a good panel.
It is.
Door opens and there's Farouk. Destro looking buff.
Farouk says, "What? Who, the devil?" And yeah, Destro
What?
looking like a buff devil.
Yeah, and he's got a new outfit too. So he did take the time to crisp up his outfit. It's not torn up either. So he must have fully remembered who he was and had a stash of clothing.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, he full on looks like, I don't know, Iron Man.
He really does. He really does. So Destro just basically is like, I'm in control here. He turns off. I'm assuming that looks like he's like locking the door behind him so no one's going to interrupt him.
Sure.
And he's just says, let me refresh your memory. And he's basically, it's him telling us what we don't know. How did he get in that situation? 2 weeks ago, he received a telegram telling him calling me to this base on urgent business. I arrive in Morocco and I find myself set upon by Cobra soldiers, let alone for dead in an alley. So what can he deduce from this little incident?
Could it be
Satan?
that you, my old friend, seek to usurp me, seek to become Cobra Commander's
Satan?
right-hand man?
Totally. So Farouk is trying to, he's trying to bide his time where he can get his hand on his own gun. And he's not going to deny it. He's like, what point would there be? You know what's up. And we see here that Destro realizes Cobra Commander is a psychopath. And this is really important to how this story ends. I really like this.
Oh, yeah.
This is Destro talking. Cobra Commander is a psychopath. If he were to pursue his dreams of slaughter, the world powers would tear his organization to shreds. As it is, we merely face Action Force, highly motivated and well-armed, but no more than pest controllers. They win a few battles, we win a few. Slowly but surely, Cobra will take over the world, and the world will be ours. But that's only if Destro's in charge.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
It's great. And Farouk, quietly pulls his pistol out and says, but meanwhile, you just get richer and richer. And he calls it a happy accident. And then as he's about to shoot Destro turns around, and what is he exactly impaling him with?
This, to me...
Oh, it's his walking cane.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Farouk's Kingpin-esque walking cane with a big diamond on the top.
Yep.
Destro snaps it in half, and as he spins, just impales Farouk right through which is really great, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's a move. That's a power move.
I mean, it goes all the way through his torso.
Yes,
and
it
pierces
does.
his jacket in the back.
Yes, it does.
Destro just says, amateur.
Yep. The gun goes off, doesn't even remotely go anywhere near hitting Destro. The guards do hear the gunfire, though. And Destro, the door opens, and he's carrying Farouk's body with this is great, the gem-studded cane that is pierced in Farouk's chest is still sticking out of his chest, and it is sitting in where Destro's gem would normally be.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome.
It is, and it's the same color. It's that yellow.
Yeah.
Gleaming. Yeah.
It's great. Absolutely great.
Very good.
It's like Destro's fully reclaimed everything that he lost now in that moment.
Yeah.
Except for he can never reclaim Jenna.
Of course.
Yeah. He then throws the body of Farouk,
Still impaled, onto the floor where all the soldiers are gathered. Like, what's going on? Because right now they're like, what's up? And unlike, a respectable mosh pit where someone might catch you, no one bothers.
No one's bothering. And this is so telling. This is great. Destro doesn't yell, "Hail Destro." He yells, "Hail Cobra, hail Cobra Commander."
Yeah.
Keeping all of them in the dark. The only person that knows his true motives just got thrown over the side there. Hail Cobra Commander. The crowd starts chanting Hail Cobra Commander. Awesome.
Yeah.
What a power move.
Completely. I mean, for all they know, Farouk was supposed to meet his end, and this is what Cobra Commander wanted.
Yep.
And so they're all in lockstep.
Absolutely. And it ends in a very, now this is shifting gears, a very James Bondian way.
Yeah.
Destro at the gravesite of Jenna, whose name is Jenna Masiva. Mm-hmm. And they actually put years on it, 1967 and 1988.
Which is the exact year. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was 19 years old? No, 21.
Yeah.
21. Yeah. Did my math there on the fly. Terrible.
And again, he's got his old snake trench coat on here. So he really is like embodying Cobra Commander in my mind.
Very much so. But he says, Cobra Commander gave me a special citation, a ludicrous thing made of ribbon and cheap metal for the honor of Cobra. Ha! What is that? What does he know of honor? Jenna knew honor. She died for it. She died for me. No, not for me. For Silver, for the man she thought I was. While I had lost my memory, I could have been anything, anyone. She made me a hero. But now Silver is dead too. Now there is only Destro. And he is no hero.
Yeah.
But he leaves a note. What's that note say, Michael?
Leaves the wreath that says, "With love, Silver." Silver was the hero left behind at the grave.
Strong comic book here.
Super impressive.
Super strong comic book here.
Yeah, and I love him in the background, in silhouette as he's walking away into the fog.
Yep.
And yet, any warmth on this scene is here in the foreground at the grave with that note.
Mm-hmm.
And
I want to know where he got a Christmas wreath in the middle of Morocco.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, it is Christmas time.
It is. Oh, you're right. You're right.
So you never know. Maybe it was imported.
This story was great.
Really great.
This story was great. This specific story needs to be reprinted more.
Yeah.
More people need to read this. More people. You know what? Well, I probably wouldn't fit with the Energized Universe, but like this should have done an American version of this story.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
They should have read this, been like, oh, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take this and maybe redraw it, flesh it out a little bit, but let's do another version of this and totally have him like, not cheat. I don't want to say cheating on, but cheating on Barrett. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't know. Do it. Do it in the real American Hero continuity. This story would have been an all freaking timer.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's time to get Joshua Williamson on the podcast, Joe.
Yeah.
And
Josh, read this. Do it. Let's go.
Check it out. And if he doesn't have this issue,
yeah,
make it happen.
I'll send him your way.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That was great. I got nothing else to say about it. It was dynamite.
It was great. It was great.
It was dynamite. Do you have any parting thoughts on
it? Just really, really strong finish. This last 5 pages here in this last issue, Destro was a bit more verbose than he's been, and and leading up. But we come back to. I love the callback to the monologuing at the end.
Also, once he remembers that he's Destro, he clams up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like kind of implying that even he knows that that's a persona that it's a put on. He has to be this guy in order to be that victorious. And
the thing to remember in the world of Action Force is Cobra Commander, though, he does make an appearance and, the reprints a bit, and you get a sense of him. He wasn't in the front and center of the readership.
Right.
So.
This definitely was the Destro show.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love that. If nothing else, I love that, you just get so much more than, it just enriches everything.
Yeah, it's such character work.
It's different, but it's not so different that it can't be all of the same world.
100%.
I mean, you can read these alongside G.I. Joe, and it can all, you can make it all work.
Yeah, you replace Farouk with. Let's see. I mean, you could replace him with. Well, without murdering them. Because with one of the other Cobra High commands, because you don't want them necessarily murdered, but let's say like Major Blood.
Yeah.
Like you could totally replace this with Major Blood, or if you do want to do a murder thing, replace him with one of those early, those early dudes that were a part of Cobra, like Wingfield. Remember him from the very early, like Wingfield. that early,
sure.
Before they invented Destro and Major Blood and all that, like one of those early dudes.
Oh yeah.
Put them in this story. You now see why they never showed up again.
Yeah.
Because Destro murdered them.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
great.
It's awesome. I love it. Michael, really great. So I think next time this was our penultimate episode. I think next time we're wrapping it up.
That is true. We've got one 4-issue arc that's gonna wrap it up.
So I know the numbers on these episodes have been crazy. These podcast episodes have been through the roof because you guys have been building up to it. You've been waiting. So come back next week for the final episode of Joe-Nie Loves Action Force. And now you Joeing's half the battle.
Full force.